All right, boys. I mean, listen, this is not a normal day for me. I have a heavy heart. Dino has a heavy heart. I'm an emotional guy. We lost our boy Alex Collins yesterday or day before, I don't know exactly, to a motorcycle accident. I bring him up mostly because we show our condolences, but secondly, I loved that athlete. I think always better than advertised. I think he was undervalued. He never got a pure chance, and he lost some time to injury. But listen, I have a funny story about him. The reason I loved him so much is because in one of my fantasy leagues one year, me and Nate, which the podcast will meet one day, we had him. And we didn't know what the fuck to do with him every week. He would have 1 yard rushing for a touchdown every week. So he was doing it. 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then we always would say, me and Nate would say, this is your last chance, man. If you don't get in the end zone. But the guy got in every week. We then went to call him Last Chance Hugh. Anyway, not gonna get derailed here, but I hope you're doing that Irish tap dance in heaven, all right? Now, let's switch it up, because today is a big day. We have a very special guest, my boy, Mike Strauss. I'm gonna give him the mic and let him do his thing. He's got a lot to talk about, and yeah, Mike, let's tell the pod about your athletic career, because I'm sure a lot of people do not know this about you.
Richmond and NC State, the Wolfpack without starting quarterback Brandon Mitchell. Of course, he suffered a broken left foot last week, so Dave Doran going with 2 quarterbacks. Pete Thomas, the better thrower. Bryant Sheriff's the better running QB, and here goes Sheriff's around the left side, keeping it himself. 28 yards for the touchdown. That's what he's supposed to do, and NC State takes this 10-7 lead on Richmond, but the Spiders crawl back. Michael Strauss to Stephen Barnett, 14-yard score. Strauss, 300 yards passing in the game.
Right. So, born and raised in Miami, Florida, raised in Key Biscayne. We haven't put out too many big products, but for the size of the island, I guess recently there's been a lot of new guys, Berger and the new Inter Miami soccer stars from the Key. So Key Biscayne is starting to come up a little bit more and more. In my time, you had Connor Vernon, myself, playing football, made it to the collegiate level, went to Gulliver Prep. But, I like to think we kind of started that even before then. Rick Surreal, guys who have these Key Biscayne blood. So it's like, we're these island, island guys that, we did all grow up lucky and privileged, but we all worked hard. We didn't take days off, and we ended up all having pretty good careers. But it kind of paved the way for the future generation of people from the Key. I ended up going to Gulliver Prep, like I said, with the fellow Gulliver Prep alumni Connor Vernon, who's the leading receiver in ACC history. Went to Duke. The following year, I went to Virginia. And then from there, after 2 years, transferred to University of Richmond, where I would then go on to make more of a name for myself, carrying records, going to the playoffs, wins, completions, yards, 5, 6 touchdown games, 500-yard games. So that was kind of when I could tell I could play the game. And even before then, in high school, Cedric Irvin was one of my mentors. Played in the NFL for a few years, cousin of Michael Irvin. And his 2 sons now are, both one's at Stanford, one's got scholarships from every school in the country. So I had guys like that under my, looking after me, getting me right. And it was about in the 9th grade when I realized I could play football, and it kind of jump-started everything.
That's incredible. I met Mike late in my life. Not late, but after all the shenanigans about him being in the league, he told me that he made it to the NFL. I'm like, no, he didn't. And
Right.
He showed me a jersey.
Right.
He made it to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know if it was practice squad. I don't know if it was G League squad. I don't know what it was, but he was in there.
The league is the league.
The league is the league.
But my thing was, once you're in the locker room with the helmet in your hands, at
That's
that
it.
point, I've told myself, I've made it. A kid from Key
that's
Biscayne,
it.
fortunate. I'm not supposed to be here. I mean,
No.
there's people out there that definitely want this more than I do, and I showed it, or you would think want it more than I do, and I showed the will of hard work, right? And I'm a Jewish Cuban. It's not like I have these crazy athletic genes in my blood,
But that arm throws a cannon.
Right. So it was all hard work, and it was work ethic, which I owe to my dad. You know, he kind of, when I didn't want to work, he'd push me, and he got me the coaching I needed. You know, I couldn't have done it alone. And yeah, I was in mini camp with the Chiefs. And it goes back to needing it. If I would have needed the game more, I probably would maybe still be playing, and maybe not the NFL, but maybe in the Canadian League, because I had offers to play in the Canadian League. But given my situation, given the career path that I had, or that I could go after, in the family business that I grew up in, that was more appealing to me than being a journeyman of any sorts. Whereas people who need it, live for it, without it, can't put food on their plates. That's why you hear who wants it the most.
It just shows the passion you had for the game.
Right.
Even though you didn't need any of this.
Right.
You wanted to get out there, get hit every day, take beatings from coaches, because we all know they were not nice back in those days.
No.
Yeah, it was tough to be a football player. It always is.
10 years ago, the rules were a little different.
Some things could be deflating. People could demise you, and it's tough. You're playing with really, really good athletes, and you're able to come here and say you made it to a state championship, and you made it to D1 college, and then into the NFL.
Yeah, two-time All-State, first team. High school, Dade County Player of the
This guy
Year.
has all the accolades.
Dade County Player of the Year, my senior year.
I watched live in action.
Did you have your pom-poms?
Always. He knows me, Mr. School Spirit over here, watching Mike following him on the
It
road.
was always my dream to play in front of a lot of fans, which I got to do and run out of
do.
And was it always football?
It was always football. I played baseball through middle school. I went to China for a USA type little league, not the Little League World Series, but it was a sort of a league that I got invited to go to China with a team to play there. That was an amazing experience. But I learned pretty quickly, when I got to high school, if I was going to be good at something, I had to put all my time and effort to it. And I had a lot of coaches. My dad and my coaches really pushed me to get where I needed to be. But yeah, I would have in 8th grade, 7th grade, I probably would have never guessed that I would have been, had 10 plus scholarship offers to play in Division I football. And, I was just, again, I was not that athletic. I had a bunch of people telling me I should play tight end. My middle school coach told me I should play tight end, probably better for me. A linebacker, probably better for me. When I got to 9th grade, Andres is friends with a guy named Justin Mills. If he's watching this, they used to call him Chicken Little. He was a small, athletic kid who was pretty much good at everything. He's good at everything he does.
Yeah, he was.
And I remember one day I was in the bathtub, and I told my dad, I said, I don't think I'm ever going to play quarterback. I said, Justin is the quarterback of the JV team in 9th grade, and I don't think I'm ever going to get a shot. And he told me, he looked at me, he said,
smacked in your face.
He said, you want to play quarterback? I'm going to make you a quarterback. So I think from then, it was a turning point with everything, my work ethic and the practicing and the training, that I was like, okay, well, once I started to see I could do this, got a little bit better.
He's also built like a quarterback. Guy is 6'2", 240,
Yeah,
and he had a can. I'm telling you right now, the guy
220.
could throw. Okay, 220. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
If I was 240, probably still be playing.
That's it. Okay. Well, I didn't mean that in any.
No, but the biggest thing with me is I think I hit a point where I could have still kept getting better, but with my size, I'm 6'3", 215, 220 as a player. A lot of coaches at that point, guy coming out of D1 AA football, they want to see that guy who's 6'6", 240, 250. Mm-hmm. How much more talent, this guy's got a lot of talent. How much more size can we add to him? How much more strength can we add to him? And I was already filled out. I had reached that.
You had puberty.
I'd reached that top of my, what you would say, my size and my what I could contribute. And I think that's one of those reasons why I maybe didn't get more of a shot, is because of the talent was there, but how much better could I have gotten, I think, is maybe what the coaches were seeing. But yeah, it's a very fun, interesting journey.
It sounds like a ride a lot of people don't get today.
No, it's,
you know what I mean?
There's only one of these stories.
And-
You can't even pay for this shit.
And
you know what I mean?
it's been what, I'm 31 now. I've graduated at 21, so it's been 10 years. I feel like a different person now. It feels like football was a whole other life of mine. It feels, you have stages in your life that, it's not like I go to sleep thinking about it, sad about it. I
No,
never
on
did.
the contrary, you should be happy about
right.
it,
It's
yeah.
not like I have any regrets. So I did it, you know, and like I said, when I got into that Chiefs locker room and had the helmet in my hands, the jersey on my shoulder, I'm in the
I
meeting.
got goosebumps,
Andy
dude. I would
Reid,
faint.
Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Doug Peterson, all in the same quarterback room, going over that day's practice that I did very well in.
Delusional.
It's just like
Delusional.
you start to really think about where you're at, and okay, you know, this is it. I mean, if this is it, I'm happy because this is something I'll never forget. And again, you know, the money's great, the fame is great, you know, playing in the NFL is great, but knowing where you were and where you got to, and how much work you put in to get
all that
there,
matters.
is really all that matters, and it's really helped me take my career into the next level of shoes, right? Into anything that I do, it's that same mindset. That
Which we will transition
Yeah.
to. Don't problem. I know you you have a few things to say, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I
take
appreciate
the
it.
floor.
Thanks, Dino. Proud day, everyone. I've known Mike since I was in 4th, 5th grade. Seen him take Gulliver Prep, a little small private school, to the state championship in Florida. His 2008-2009 season, my senior year, his junior. Mike, you've come a long way, bro. I've seen you from the beginning of time play with the GP Elites on Sean Taylor Memorial Field. RIP to my boy, best athlete ever. I've seen it.
I no
Of all
one hit
time?
harder than that guy ever. I don't think
Legend.
anyone hit harder.
His
he's a legend.
background as a quarterback playing with Miami, Florida Elites, probably the best athletes in the nation. He's already mentioned Connor Vernon. We brought him up last time. We were talking about Daniel Jones. He mentioned Duke. Any other good athletes there? And I said, hold up. Connor Vernon, best receiver in ACC
And you can't forget
history.
about Don Varner also, who was the year before, and he had the receiving records before Connor broke them. So
Yep.
top 2 guys in the ACC, top 3 guys in ACC all time are out of Gulliver Prep.
Yep.
So it's a small private school, but
I just
we
want to take him
definitely-
back to the state championship here. You know, that season. You know,
Bring
he
him
said
back.
Connor
Bring him back to
Vernon,
it.
these are the wide receivers. Connor Vernon, Donovan Varner, Justin Mills, a.k.a. Wes Welker, D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez.
Little chicken.
Takoy
Or chicken
Sumler,
liver.
one of the fastest players in the
Oregon.
nation.
Takoy went to
Frankie
Oregon.
T, best linebacker.
USC.
Artis, great safety. These guys
Ole
took
Miss.
us to the state championship.
I mean, there was 15. There was about 12.
There's others, but hey, I want to let them know about your receiving crew, what it took to spread the ball around to these guys, take us all the way there. State championship to visiting where I went to school. I tried to recruit this guy heavy to Bama. Nick Saban couldn't do it, so he had me in the background, you know, trying to recruit Mike.
I'm sure he would have went through
So, Mike, you know,
yeah,
the journey to Bama, meeting Nick Saban in his office, which I have done also, amazing experience. Following, you know, Cedric Irvin as well out there with Coach Sims. Great culture to start everything. I think you've had a great background.
Yes.
I want to hear about Nick
As do
Saban
I,
meeting.
as do we all.
I had this, so just before I go into the Alabama thing, that the best part, I think, and the thing that got me ready for, it kind of paved the way, was actually a loss in my high school, my first high school start. You mentioned all those names. My sophomore year, Cedric Irvin was the offensive coordinator there, and he had kind of taken me under my wing. And there was a senior quarterback, Doug Pappy, and he had got, when it was going around mono, you know, and he had got mono. That's when you're out for a couple weeks. So
A couple years, some people.
yeah, but he was out for a couple weeks, and I was a sophomore.
He's waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I was a sophomore, kind of waiting in the wings, and we had the biggest rivalry at the time. One of the biggest rivalries probably in the state of Florida was Gulliver Prep versus Archbishop Carroll, because of all the bad blood we've had.
A lot
there.
of hatred.
Was it?
So
Yeah.
that was my
Fights.
first. It was my first start, just because of him being sick, and we had to win one of the 2 next games to make it to the playoffs. And obviously, before this game starts, probably one of the biggest brawls in South Florida history
was there.
goes down
Yeah.
before the game on
Crazy.
the field. And
Wait,
I'm-
one of the
and-
biggest stars?
No,
Brawls.
brawls.
Oh,
Like
I'm sorry.
So there's, I mean,
It's
this is
crazy.
one of the,
Between the players.
I think
Yeah, I was
if
in the
they had
stands watching.
If they had cameras like they did today, they did have some of the stuff. It would have made Sports Center, would have made every single news outlet in a way where Instagram would have just taken this thing viral. I mean, this was a full on.
You stayed out of it,
No,
obviously.
of course. This is. I don't get involved in that.
I almost got in before he did.
This
I
is-
almost ran on the field.
This was a full on brawl that resulted in our top 5 players. So a lot of the guys you just named being ejected from the game before it started. So I went to this game with all 4 guys who played running back, practiced at running back. All 4 Division I guys. So they played corner, some played inside receiver, but it was the starters, backup, the guy, and all the ones behind him. Anybody who practiced that week at running back got ejected. So I went into my first start as a high school sophomore.
With no one.
With nobody playing running back. Now I had my receiving core, and I had Cedric Gervin as my coach too, and we kind of took that and said, okay, well, we're gonna throw the ball 35 times, 40
How many
times.
tutties?
To 2 touchdowns.
He's holding records.
The whole point of the story was we ended up losing that game, right?
Yeah.
But it was that game that showed not only myself but my teammates, the coaching staff, the school really, because that school was looking for a quarterback, right? Okay, about after this guy Pappy, is Michael Strauss good enough?
It's also a dominant name.
But I'm just
Michael Strauss.
There was a lot of question marks because I hadn't shown and done anything yet, right? I was again a JV quarterback in my freshman and half of my sophomore year.
But you look like a quarterback.
Right? But
Like,
this
look.
was a school that wanted to compete for state championships, and the team was built like that. So I had to go out and prove myself, and it's crazy that a loss showed everyone, okay, this kid can play. Got those guys all back in the week after we blew out LaSalle.
How'd you play in the championship game?
Well, that was the next year.
junior year.
So going into the next, so that happened. We ended up going. The quarterback
Amazing season.
Quarterback ends up coming back for the playoffs. I wish I had been able to get a shot to play in the playoffs, but he deserved it. It was his senior year. We lost on a fumbled snap at the end of the game versus
Whose fault? Center
American
quarterback?
Heritage. Yes, center quarterback exchange. It's no one's fault.
That was a good game.
But it was the end of the game, and we could have won, and it was just unfortunate. But going to the next year, now Cedric Gervin is like my coach. He's just my guy, my mentor. I don't know what I would do without him. He ends up taking a job at Alabama as the running backs coach.
Roll Tide.
And I guess it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because I grew up real quick. Bringing in a new coach. I know the offense. I've kind of proven already now for 2 games, the year before, that I can do this, but there's still question marks whether I can really play. So he gets a job at Alabama. I end up going to summer camp that year at Alabama and amongst other schools. He got, but just because he was there, he got me in Saban's eye. He got me in the right groups. He got me, hey, this is my guy. And I did really well. And they were interested in me, and they invited me back my junior year. And obviously my junior year comes around, and we put up the second best season in the history of the school after the year Sean Taylor won the state championship. And we had 10 plus D1 Division I high level athletes on that team. We to get to the state championship in Miami, out of Miami-Dade and in Florida, losing to Bowls, it's a pretty. That's like a dominant. It's like the Georgia Bulldogs of today,
Yeah.
and it was a pretty special season. Then after that junior year, everyone knew who I was, college-wise. Everyone knew I was a 3-star on Rivals. I was still not the best guy, but I was born in July. I'm the youngest in my grade, so. The one thing my parents regret, my dad regrets really, is not holding me back a year like most of these guys get held back in middle school who, for athletic reasons. So, I go into Alabama camp, I light it up again. I walk into Saban's office. He invites me to his office. That was kind of surreal for me.
I wouldn't be able to walk.
I got a little bit of extra treatment because Cedric Gervin was there. I got to go be around some of the players, Julio Jones, people like that. Just larger than life, looking at these guys. This is my junior. Right after my
Action figures.
Yeah, this is going into.
This is when the dynasty is about to start.
Yeah, this going
so,
in.
Which you started.
You're right, Dino. Thank you.
So I just remember. I don't remember. I ended up having a couple meetings with Saban because I went to the camp 2 or 3 times, and the coolest part was, I walk in there one time with my parents because at that point it got a little more serious. Their interest in me, and he brings me in. He tells me to sit.
Alabama was interested in you?
Right. Tells me to sit down on
Shut the fuck up.
on the couch there, and he's sitting at his desk, and he hits the button, and the door just closes like if it was a garage opening. You know what I mean? And
So he's Batman?
yeah, it's just like it's larger than life. Anything he says, it's
I didn't know you were they were interested.
right.
That's
So
nuts.
so I ended up killing him in that camp. Left the camp without a scholarship, right? At this point, I was, I don't
Is
know.
it because you didn't perform well in
No,
camp?
no.
Oh.
There's number one team in the nation. It's tough.
I had performed really well. They already had the 5-star number one quarterback in the nation committed, Philip Sims,
Yep.
at the time.
You were better than him,
And-
Mike. You know that.
I mean, he's a no name. I don't even know who
No,
that is.
he became a no
What-
one.
what did he do?
He's from
dropped off
Virginia. He was
face
from
the earth.
Virginia. He ended up going to Alabama, then transferring to UVA actually, and then
To where he went.
nothing really happened with his
Crazy.
career. But what I would say is I left that in kind of in awe, and I don't remember if I was committed to Tulane at the time, but I got back to Miami, and I think in that summer during workouts going into my senior year, that's at that point going into your senior year, you kind of have a lot of the scholarships you're going to get. You're going to pick up a few maybe during the season. Because a lot of these guys like to have their commitment classes done their junior
Would
years.
you ever consider a scholarship from not a D1 school? No.
Not at the time. I
Not
would have
at the
never.
time.
I would have
No
never.
way.
For me, it was like playing in front of a big crowd.
That's a
and
question I have for everyone,
going to
not just you.
No,
like
going
everyone
to
in
a
this
big
time,
time
yeah.
school, big time conference, big time crowd, good academics was at the forefront.
This guy's got a big time face, so he's got to be in front of the lights and camera, you know?
No, this guy's a celeb.
But Saban ended. So I had a few scholarships, and this was by far the biggest one. Saban called my mother. In the middle, he called me in the middle of a workout class, and then called my mom, and basically offered me a scholarship, but called my mom to tell her what his plans were for me, because you think, okay, well you got AJ McCarron, you got who was there before
Greg
him?
McElroy.
McElroy is the quarterback. You got McCarron.
He wanted you on the bench.
You got
basically saying,
McCarron.
Yeah.
You got McCarron in the hole. You got Philip Sims committed. It's like where do I fit in?
Yeah.
And his idea for me, or to tell my mom, was obviously the same idea that we had of kind of holding me back a year. It was a gray shirt. So it was a gray shirt scholarship.
But they keep you as quarterback, right?
keep you as
Yeah,
quarterback.
yeah.
Okay.
But he
Doesn't
saw.
count. That's
But
good.
it was crazy, and looking back on how my whole career went, he knew better than anybody what I needed to do, and I couldn't have never said that until years of reflection after transferring schools, right? After not making it all the way as far as I would have hoped, as far as I might, making it and being a multi-year player in the league, it's because I needed more time to develop. Every year after I stopped playing, my body was getting a little bit bigger and bigger, and I had more room to put on weight. And he saw that. So when I graduated high school at 17, he said, "Well, we want to bring him in. He'll do film study, can't practice. He'll work out with the team, and he'll go to school. He'll get his first year of school done, and his second year, he'll start practicing. It'll be his redshirt year. He'll be on the team. It'll be like a normal year." So now, looking at my first redshirt freshman year is really my third year on campus. At that point, I would have been about 19, 20 as a freshman, which is, if I look back at it, if I was a 19-year-old freshman, I would have been much more developed
better, yeah.
and much better. Now, who knows? At that point, I was like, okay, well, who knows who he's going to get each of these years? They're just going to get a new 5-star every year. So I was immature. I wanted to play right away. Virginia offered me a scholarship, and they didn't have a clear-cut quarterback.
D1 as well.
There was one quarterback. There was
ACC.
two quarterbacks really on the roster. They were going through kind of rebuilding year, and I thought, okay, this ACC, good.
You also have to prove yourself.
Right.
It's your time to shine.
Right.
You're going to start for a D1 school. You have to take that
But it was an immature way of thinking. Like, let me
But
go.
is it?
Every
He's a
kid,
very confident
It
guy,
could
you
go
know?
either way.
every
I
kid
feel.
wants to go to a school where
Yeah.
they can play immediately or think they can play
But you
immediately.
have no exposure being on a red shirt on Alabama.
But knowing what I know now, I needed those years of development. Those 2 years that I didn't get to play at Virginia and that I ended up transferring anyways, I grew so much as a person and a player. I was an immature, small kid. Like, I had a lot to learn. So Saban in the end was right, and
Of course.
And I could have.
I mean, has he ever been
Yeah.
wrong?
No. So what his idea, what his path, what his what he had told my mom, what my mom had then talked to me about, it didn't register at the time because I could have never thought sitting out for 2 years, right?
Which is very common, by the way.
Right.
A lot of athletes being young.
So that's why when I went to Virginia, not getting the opportunities I wanted in the first 2 years and not seeing the light there. Maybe if I would have stayed there longer, I would have played, but not. I wanted to get out. I wanted to get into a situation where I'm going to play right now. I'm going to make a
who's
difference.
sideline. Man is open. It's Barnett again. Makes the catch at midfield and is shoved out of bounds at the NC State sideline at the Wolfpack 47-yard line.
Outside, getting open.
25 yards. Strauss throws for the end zone on first down, and Stephen Barnett makes a terrific catch on the sideline for the Spider touchdown. Michael Strauss into the arms of Stephen Barnett. Barnett looks it in and tight ropes the sideline.
Strauss from the shotgun, back to pass. Strauss throws it down the left sideline toward the end zone. It's caught by Barnett. Touchdown, Spiders. A 21-yard touchdown into the front corner of the end zone. Barnett went up the ladder to get it, and the Spiders score again.
But right now, Strauss is so in sync, you expect him to go to the air.
Strauss back to pass, swings it out to Fisher on the left flat, gets across the line of scrimmage out near the first down marker before he's forced out of bounds by Delaware's Travis Hawkins. We'll see where the spot is, but he's close to that first down marker, and it is a first down. A nice Fisher back in there. Fake handoff from Strauss, back to pass, wide open is Ponder, across the middle, across midfield, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, and he's tackled at the 2-yard line.
Receivers left, 2 to the right. Strauss looks, he throws for the end zone. Diggs makes a diving catch, touchdown Spiders. Reggie Diggs right up against the sideline in the end zone. Catches the football for a Spider touchdown.
Say what you did wasn't the right decision. We don't know for a fact. No one knows.
Nobody, you never know. Listen, I've ended up in a
You
good
lit it up.
I ended
You
up
broke
in a good
records.
place.
You actually really made a statement in sports,
Right.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous. I don't give a fuck if you're in Alabama, Richmond, whatever.
Right.
If I look you up, you're there on Rivals.
Right.
And you look hellacious.
Something
I already
your
looked it up.
grandkids will
Right,
know.
right, of course. And again, it's just to go, a lot of that was to just goes to show, the connection to Alabama. It was a big part of my high school career, going there all the
Which is
time.
crazy. I didn't know any about it.
Cedric Irvin was a huge influence
he was
on
a
him
big
coaching in
influence
high school.
Coaching me in high school and getting me my tape in that room.
I said to Michael
yeah.
Strauss, listen,
Yeah.
listen, you're on the board with first of all,
Oh, look at that picture. Unbelievable.
it's crazy.
So, Mike, let them admire you. But just to show you, Nick Saban, what's his philosophy? There's 2 words, and it's called the what?
You tell me.
The process,
The
Mike.
process,
The
okay.
process. So now you're looking after it. Hey, everything's part of a process, man. Me and Dino are here for a reason. It's just part of the process. We have you here today. We're very thankful. We'll look back on it later in life and say, yo, that was awesome part
Not
of the
even later,
process.
I'll look back at it today. Well, I'm at your house.
It still doesn't. It doesn't
watching
feel in the time. It
Yeah.
still didn't feel real, but
But you have to just ride it.
right.
Ride the wave,
And it would have
you
been it would have been more strongly considered if I hadn't got the offer from Virginia.
Of course.
because
But
Virginia kind of.
you did get a boost of confidence.
Oh, yeah.
getting all this.
There was
love
never a
from
lack- there was-
Alabama. You
yeah,
have
yeah,
to.
that's amazing,
The-
yeah.
I mean, this is the god of college football.
But there was never lack of confidence in.
No, I'm just saying,
on my
saying
end.
it
Yeah.
does add to it.
Right,
It
right.
does add to it. That only makes you feel better.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on your end?
No, I loved it. It's fine. I loved it.
I want to hear some of the best players you've played
Yeah,
against.
Go
please
ahead.
give
I'm
us
sorry.
Give us
who
some of the
shocked
best
you.
players you've played against
Played against.
or played with, either or.
Toss ball to
The
anything,
best
Mike.
ones.
We already talked about Connor Vernon, Duke
Yeah.
legend. Stephen Barnett is now the receivers coach at Duke. He was a Richmond legend. Ben Edwards played in the NFL for a couple years with the Giants. He was one of my receivers as well. Another running back I played with, Kendall Gaskins at Richmond. He was with the 49ers. He was my running back the 2 years I played together. Actually, that was my first touchdown. So when I transitioned from Richmond to Virginia,
Put that graphic up. Aiden, we'll put that graphic up of his first touchdown.
That first touch.
Was it in a 3-yard touchdown?
Your former
The
team.
first play.
3-yard TD.
It was the first play of my college career. Actually, it was Richmond at Virginia, and that was when the rule was
Best 3-yard
if
touchdown
you're
you'll ever see in your life.
if you're
Put that in the
if your helmet fell off, you had to come out of the game. The quarterback's helmet fell off on second down on the 3-yard line, so it was third down from the 3, and we ended up doing some sort of fake jet sweep. I ended up snapping the ball a little too early or late. I was all nervous, and I did some crazy jump pass to Kendall, and it was my first pass of my career was almost like an accident. It was a touchdown. And it kind of laid the ground for the rest of
That's
Got your
it's
scoring
kinda laying
touchdown
the
machine,
ground for your
Mike.
life.
Yeah.
You're
So happy that quarterback's
That was my
ended
first
up
play,
coming
yeah.
off.
So that was one moment. That was my first play, and then my first game was versus number 1 JMU. Threw for like 350 and 3 touchdowns. We beat the number 1 team in the country. So I've had some good firsts. But in terms of like at Virginia, I played with a lot of big time guys. Not so much on the offensive side of the ball, but if you maybe receiver Dontrell Inman.
Yeah.
Safety still in the league. Rodney McLeod, Anthony Harris. Roy Reynolds, linebacker.
Those are some big
Brent
names.
Brent Urban for the Ravens, D lineman. He's like a 10-year vet. Ode Abushi, tackle, guard/tackle in the NFL for now
he
10
starts
years.
still?
He's a free
on
agent.
Houston still?
A free agent now, but he's been with the Jets, Houston, LA, a bunch of different teams. But he'll continue to play. But a lot of really good players I've been able to play with. Kerry Wynn played with the Giants for a few years. Got from Richmond. So.
Amazing.
Been able to play with a lot of guys in the NFL, offense and defense.
Listen, I mean, time flies when you're having a fucking good time.
Yep.
Right?
So let's keep it rolling, guys.
But listen, we're going to end this episode. There's a reason this is displayed. Our boy Mike Strauss, his family, started a shoe company. Back in the day, that's when he said he was fortunate. He was always doing it. But from what I know, from what I've heard from Mike, he's brought the company more up, extended the company with a, I don't know, what do you call this, an extension brand? Whatever you call it.
It's another division.
Okay, there you go.
Under the umbrella.
I don't know the exact grammar for it, but let's talk about your journey through the shoes after college football, after football itself.
Well, right when I got out of college, it was already kind of like I didn't really have any other desires. I wanted to work in the family business. It was it meant the world to me to continue some family, the family legacy more. It could have been anything. It could have been shoes. Could have been, but I had a connection with shoes and fashion. And I've always liked from when I played football. If you looked at everything I wore, it was all custom. It was things that I'd go out and I'd buy and I'd work into my outfit. So I always had that want to look good, feel good, play good. So with shoes,
I mean, who said that?
I think it was Ed Reed. Was it?
It wasn't Ed Reed.
It's
a
Deion
baseball
Sanders.
player. Yeah.
It
No,
was
is it Deion Sanders?
It might have been Deion
It was
Sanders.
good. It sounds like something.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
Gino heard that recently.
whoever said it, they're so right.
Right. That was something I always lived
If
by.
you look like shit, you're not gonna play.
Yeah, that was something I definitely always lived by. If I didn't feel good, I felt uncomfortable. If I didn't look good, I felt uncomfortable.
Of course.
So with shoes, it's kind of been the same, kind of taking that same idea, and a lot of what we do is very cool shoes, but also comfortable. The business has changed a lot since right when I got out of college in 2015. 16 and 17 were real big growth years for me in learning what the business was.
It's also you're the newer generation.
Right,
You have a lot more ideas. You've seen a lot more than your family has.
Right.
It's not that I'm not saying they're comfortable already. They're doing what they're doing, but they need it. It's like a new set of eyes.
Right.
A
And
younger set of eyes.
my dad was always more of a product guy. I've been more of a products and sales guy. And
But you're also part of the design.
Of course,
you
yeah.
go, you travel.
But I think you have to have one with the other, because if you just do design, you don't know who you're designing for.
Right.
So if you're out there on the road, when I'm going to Seattle to meet with Nordstrom, or going to Ohio to meet with DSW, and going to these shows, these convention shows to meet with the boutique stores, seeing what they like, seeing what they want from us, studying the business, studying the price points in which that we're going to be the most successful at, and then kind of curating a line and a brand around what they want from you, right? It's always the customer's always right. A lot of times people get caught up, people lose their business, people go south because they get too far, too far in their ego and what they want, and what they want goes, and what types of shoes that they want to sell. And that's where you go up and down. When you listen to the customer and you listen to what they want and you give them what they want, they keep coming back. So that was the biggest thing to kind of capitalize on was, okay, what do they want from us, and how am I going to execute that and keep doing it and not go away from that every year, which we had done a lot in the past. We get a really good shoe, and then the next year we wouldn't make it again because we were always into the next newest fast fashion, where nowadays a lot of it's basic, and the Nike Air Force One is the Nike Air Force One. It doesn't change. So
Nice shoe on the planet.
Not that I have a Nike Air Force One, but why would I
Maybe
ever?
I get you a pair.
Well,
I'm
no,
rocking them right now.
I'm just saying I don't make it. That's what I'm saying. But why you don't need to change. You just need to evolutionize, not revolutionize. So that was kind of the biggest thing.
that.
Yeah,
lot.
it's just updating things you're
put
doing
that in
well.
your bio or
Well,
something.
you have to keep coming up with new ideas, but the base, the fashion pyramid, that base is basics. That pays the bills. The fun stuff as it goes up is what you get noticed for. The cool things you get noticed for, and what makes your brand cool. But what pays the bills is down here. It's that white Nike Air Force One. It's not the collaboration with
That's what
Fear of
everyone
God
wants
or
to
whatever.
put on every single day.
Right. So
not that shoe you wear once.
I compare it sometimes to just like white tissue paper, right? It's just like that. What is your
Don't give me that Kirkland. Though.
what's your what's that easy thing that you can't live without, right? What's that shoe? And never stop making it, and maybe you update it, you make it better, but you can't get away from it. So that's kind of been a way we've been able to really grow the business, and then at the same time adding a men's line. I launched this men's brand with Nordstrom in 2020. Since then, it's been going well, but it's really it's not like one brand or here or there. It's kind of a full company together under one umbrella. Kind of operates under the same leadership, and we've been able to grow this business together a lot because of like what I just said is adding brands like this, adding new lines, but then also capitalizing on what we do well and building on it. So you don't always have to have the coolest, newest thing every season. It's nice to have it to keep people excited, but you can never stop being focused on what got you there. So a lot of that from football translates into the shoe business and the work ethic and working with people, and there's so many similarities. So
I think you hit it right on the nail. As a salesman myself,
I mean,
he
we
knows
have
how
a
to work.
fashion god
He
mixed
knows
with
how to
a
work with people.
athlete. I mean, it's
People want to come back to work with us, because we are likable people. Same
don't
with
butter me
Strauss.
up though, Pun.
People continue to buy shoes because he is working by. He's humble, and people
He's
like
al-
that.
he's always
This
had
is a
that
very
in him, though.
family-oriented business that they started. And quick plug: these are the best shoes in the game. Women, men's, doesn't
Shout out
matter
to
what you
MIA
get.
shoes, Mia shoes, not MIA.
Yeah.
Mia shoes. And shout out to Strauss and Rom. Go on the website, cop it. It's the most comfortable slide I ever had in my life, and it's the most elite slide I ever had in my life.
it's called the Slide,
It's called the slide.
and in women's, we make it for women's too. It's called the Lexa.
Ooh,
Cute.
okay. Don't get it confused with the
So
Amazon shit.
women, men, everybody out there, sizes 6 all the way up to 13. So
Okay. Well, listen.
Be getting a pair.
Yeah, he asked me about it before. He's like, "What the hell is that?"
These shoes are so high, I can't even get a pair. So thank God Mike's here today. Maybe he squeezes us in next
we
time.
should have some new ones for next year.
I mean, listen. By the way, you're in our fantasy league that we're gonna film for the pod. Did I tell you this?
Oh, we are?
Well, I feel like I didn't need to tell you. I didn't need your confirmation.
Who's the number 1 pick this year?
We didn't do the draft order yet.
But who?
Mike, wait. We can end it on asking
one
Mike, our
quarterback?
guest. Do you have a person? We'd like to hear your knowledge. You're a
Hold on,
fantasy
wait,
football
what?
player.
What?
His knowledge in fantasy football. Do you have your own number one
Well, number one, what?
player
You have
to
to be more
pick?
specific.
Number one player
number
to
1 pick
pick.
in fantasy.
Yeah, Mike.
I
This is a
think-
fantasy football
if
pod.
you had number one, who's your pick?
I think the top 3 is pretty interchangeable, and then I think the
I
next.
think the top 5 could be the top one.
I'm thinking about the top 6, depending on who you like. You can take any of them at one, but I think it would be foolish, from a fantasy perspective. I don't see how you could pass up on a guy like McCaffrey.
Agree.
I don't see how you could pass up on a guy
a
like
lot of mouths to feed in San Francisco. We'll get into that another time because I know we're way over time.
Right.
And I mean, Jesus Christ, you're so good at this.
Yep.
I'm gonna have you on a lot more. I'm gonna have your jersey. Maybe we hang it in the rafters here. Okay. I mean,
I felt like I was on Gallad's game day.
you know what?
watching
You
Mike.
made my job easy. I didn't say shit today, which is great.
I have a good story I like to share.
No,
I
bro.
haven't shared
First
in
of
a
all, I
while.
couldn't even look at you half the time. I had to look down at my screen because you're so hellacious.
Oh,
Yeah,
appreciate
you're
that,
elite. You're
Dino.
elite. Anyway, thank you, Mikey, for coming on. Seriously, I'm honored. We're honored. Seriously.
Thank you for having me.
And
Anytime,
you gave
man.
insight. I mean, that's.
These are stories I don't get
Sports
to,
Center can't buy
share.
that shit. Sports Center can't buy that shit.
I don't get to
okay?
share it that often.
Shout out to Snelly B, my boy Snelly Bands. Shout out to Mindful Music Lab. Did I get that right?
Yep.
And shout out to, well, not us. We're dog shit. Smell you later.